this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde. I am joined alongside my co-host Tony Sapita, and today we are covering the Chicago Bulls. Yes, it has been a very, very long New York minute since we have talked about the Chicago Bulls, but there really hasn't been much to talk about because they started sucking after London and I, we're hitting on, especially after we got Vuk. Everyone was hyped. The Bulls did not go in the direction that we thought they were going to go in, but they were potentially going to get a top 4 pick yesterday, and they walked out with no first-round picks. We're down to break it down because now everyone is on the Ben Simmons hype train, and we're going to see why we do and do not want Ben Simmons. But before we begin, a word from our sponsor. Higher Level Camps is the longest-running boys and girls AAU basketball program in the state of Wisconsin. Higher Level Camps was established in 1995 by their founder and retired WNBA player Cheryl Moore. 27 years and counting. For more information, please visit www.higherlevelcamps.com and say Just Another Year Chicago sent you. We love Cheryl, though she is a Packers fan. So let's jump into it. The Bulls got no first-round picks. Tony and I were pretty amped up. At first, we're like, man, this is going to go with the rebuild. We could get Vuk and a top 4 pick. And guess what? The dice, or the balls technically, did, even though that sounds kind of weird, did not go into our favor, which is totally fine because the Bulls still have a very young and exciting core. The reason why the Bulls did not get a first-round pick, just to make clarity, is that when we got Nikola Vucevic earlier this season, it included the rights to our first-round pick depending on where we landed in the order. And I don't know how AK pulled this off, but if we got a top 4 pick, the Bulls were going to be able to keep it. And if we were outside the top 4, the Bulls were going to lose it. So I think the Magic kind of looked at it as the opportunity that it's much more likely that they're going to get outside of it. So they were doing a gamble on themselves. They won that bet. The Bulls did not land a top 4 pick. Would have been awesome. The pick ended up going to number 8, which ends up going to the Orlando Magic. So the Bulls will be looking to improve the free agency in trading, at least they're not going to get first-round talent this year. But Tony, if the Bulls were to get the top 4 pick, who were you hoping that they were going to take and why?
Well, of course, we were hoping, for the number 1 pick, and then we get Cade Cunningham. Obviously, that's, everyone was kind of there. Jalen Suggs, unless we got the 4th pick, Jalen Suggs probably would have been, or obviously the first pick, again, we would have taken Cade. Otherwise, Jalen Suggs would have been that 2-3 spot. That's who I would have liked. Honestly, if neither of them were there, let's say we had the 3rd pick or the 4th pick, if neither of them were there, I would have been okay with even trading back just because we need a point guard. Like at this point, obviously we probably need a small forward, but there was no one I thought personally was good enough to be a small forward at a top 3 pick when we could trade back, get a couple of assets and then either take one later or sign one. So that would have been really it. But now, we're going to have to look for other answers in free agency or unfortunately through some trades because that, as we saw already, we kind of got a little bit screwed by a trade here when it hasn't worked out so far. We're still hoping Vucevic figures it out. But.
So I agree with you. And I said this earlier last year. Actually, I think it was more like January. So weird to say. It's so weird that we're already in June, by the way. I can't believe it's already June. It's almost July. We're getting ready for fireworks and beers and Cubs and socks. Tony and I are pumped for it. But the main thing that I said about that trade was that there was good and bad to it. The Bulls are very locked up for a potentially strong future at the center position. Vucevic's deal is probably the best deal, in my opinion, out of the big men because his cap goes lower every year as he gets older. I thought that was awesome. We hit him right in his prime. He did really well for the Bulls. We got a lot of assets. Daniel Tice. What I'm talking about?
Tice.
Yep. Tice. I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of his. No, it's a weird spelling. Yeah.
It's a weird spelling. Yeah, but he was a dog for the Bulls. I mean, he was probably one of the better bench players on the team, if not in the NBA for the second half of the season. But they didn't gel. And that was the problem, is that Bulls team with Wendell Carter Jr., no matter how much people don't like him, is that team was starting to gel with injuries. They were getting used to each other. And then you literally trade half your roster, which I was super, super bad about Gafford leaving. I thought Gafford was the next Taj Gibson. And he ripped it up in Washington. Good for him. But we still got a strong bench out of it. I was also upset about Luke Cornett going. Luke Cornett ended up doing really well for the Celtics and he was cheap. But so what does this mean for the Bulls moving forward, not getting this pick? it doesn't hurt. It hurts in the rebuilding process of building through the draft. And I know that's what, AK came in and said he wanted to do, and then he lands Vucevic. Awesome. That's great. But you can also go out and get guys in free agency. You can make trades. It's not like the Bulls don't have trade assets still. Larry Marketing could do a sign and trade. I believe Larry Marketing is also a restricted free agent. So, but no one's going to really want him. He is very unproven. We'll get to that in a second. But a lot of the young core, speaking back to, the Bulls drafting players, Patrick Williams was drafted by the Bulls. Kobe White was drafted by the Bulls. Even Larry Marketing was drafted by the Bulls. So like the Bulls young core, you have that place in your heart when you're drafted by the team that took a chance on you. And that's what a lot of players say. And they usually play their hearts out and they'll try to give a hometown discount. And sometimes they just can't. That's fine. And I think that's kind of what like AK wanted to do. He wanted to build a team like Derrick Rose was obviously connected to Chicago as is. But the fact that like the Bulls took a chance on him and they tried and he played his absolute heart out, was an MVP. Bulls would have won 3 championships, in my opinion, if D Rose never got hurt. But that's a whole other topic. I don't think, but like talking about the Bulls core is that, Kobe White and Patrick Williams aren't going anywhere. I think Kobe White had the typical sophomore slump. Patrick Williams was getting praised by LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, Paul George, like big name players. And Larry Marketing has just been an absolute joke for this team. Like in the last couple of years, I know people like him. I know he's a big man. People would think he was the next Porzingis, but he's hurt all the damn time. And he wants like $26 million a year. Get out of here. I'll play for $100,000 a year if I was his size right now. Like I would not even the skills, and it'd be more worth it. So, kind of before we walk into, the Ben Simmons talk of things, like Tony, in regards to the Bulls core, would it hurt if Larry Marketing left, or do you think it's a good idea for him to go?
I think he's going to have to go. We tried it. We gave it our best shot. He obviously was really promising to start off his career. He could make threes. He was just dunking on people, mean mugging them. I went to a game where he dunked all over someone on the Magic and got a technical just for looking at him. I was like, I love this man. But you are right. He does get hurt, and he just stays on the wing. He stays outside a lot. He's a big guy. We need a guy that's going to get those rebounds, kick it out to, again, Laura's a good shooter, but kick it out to Zach LaVine, Kobe White even, who is another good shooter. And hopefully if we can pick up a third guy here who can shoot, little T's in the biz, that's what they call that. That's kind of what we need, I think. So I don't know who we're necessarily going to replace him with, but I think it's time. He needs to go somewhere else. He needs a change of scenery, I think.
So kind of going into that, Ben Simmons, and this is kind of the whole point of this podcast, is that Ben Simmons, like all of a sudden is like trade block material, and Bulls fans are going absolutely ballistic. Like, yes, he would put us over the top. He would make us unbelievable. Like, that's the kind of guy that you're talking about that the Bulls need. But, you and I agree on what we're about to say. Like, Bulls Twitter wants this guy so damn bad. And you and I are like, no, stay away from the Chicago Bulls. So I know you were kind of hitting on the shooting aspect. I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but explain why you don't want Ben Simmons, Tony, because I'm happy we agree. I don't think London wants him either. I think we're all on the same page. No Ben Simmons, but why do you not want him?
Yeah. So first, because we're about to say the same thing, I'll say, so Bulls Twitter's argument is, he's he's one of the best defenders in the league. He can defend all 5 positions. He can attack the hoop. He can do kind of everything else around. Now, our point, the fact that he cannot shoot a basketball properly, and he's scared to. He's so in his own head.
He freezes up.
He can't do it, and it sucks too, because he is just so talented overall, and it is one of those guys where it's like, like Kawhi Leonard. It's like he can shoot and he's a great defender. Like that. Ben Simmons would be at that level because he's 6'10" as well. He can just do something. He can handle the ball. He can do so many things. He just cannot shoot. And the reason is he shoots with the wrong hand. I know that kind of came out finally. I've known that for like a year and a half. And everyone's like, oh, no, I think he's just, it finally came out. He's like, well, my dad said even though I'm a righty and everything, I should shoot with my left hand, blah, blah, blah. And when you see him shoot, He shoots like, so here's my left hand here.
Yeah.
He shoots like this, but he like basically controls it with his left, so it just goes off in all random places. But he still has like me. I'm a righty. It's insane. We shouldn't get him because he's a bad shooter, and that's it. You just can't have that guy in playoff situations. Like we've seen it over and over and over now. I don't know why people think, oh no, if we bring him in, we'll change him, we'll fix him. He'll be different with us. Why? That doesn't work. Like it just
why?
As a sports fan, it very rarely works that way. Where you take a chance on some guy who's clearly has these issues, and then in 2 years, the Bulls media, which is probably worse than Philly media, is going to just tear him apart and say, "Why did we ever trade for him?" It's because you guys wanted him. That's why we traded him.
And AK wants to make the fans happy. Yeah, no, rant over, but rant's about to begin again. I am 100% with you. And also, when you were speaking, I don't know if people are having this on in the background or they're actually watching us speak, but you literally looked like a high school basketball coach going, no, that is not how it's done. So I think that Ben Simmons needed you 10 years ago when he was in high school still. He's still a young guy, but my God, yeah, seriously. Forward motion.
Elbows in.
Hoops with Tony, not takes with Tony, hoops with Tony. I am with you 100%. For the love of God, do not go out and get this guy. I know you wrote it, and I'm just about to hit on it, but what we would have to give up to Philly to get him, probably Zach LaVine would have to be involved. Probably more first-round picks would have to be involved. Probably Kobe White and Patrick Williams would be involved. So you're getting rid of your whole core for a guy that can don't get me wrong. He's a really good defender. He's a mismatch for other guards because he's so damn tall, but it's not going to work. And also at one point his contract is paying him $40 million a year. There is no, if a guy cannot shoot in the NBA, unless he is literally Shaquille O'Neal, you are not paying him $40 million. He was strictly a hype man for Philly. I think he's extremely overrated. And that's, because he had all this hype entering the league. People don't want to look stupid for buying his jersey, a real jersey, before DH Gate had him. So, no, do not take this guy. Absolutely not. I am looking so forward to free agency, though. And please comment below if you guys feel you guys are nuts. Ben Simmons would be the greatest thing to happen to this roster. I would rather have Lonzo Ball, okay, than Ben Simmons. And I don't like Lonzo Ball. Even though I have him written down on people that I would like the Bulls to get, I do not like him. I think he is also overhyped. All these guys who, blow up Instagram, whatever, they suck. Derrick Rose didn't have Instagram, or he was at the beginning of it, and guess what? He turned out to be a freaking baller. Zach LaVine, sure, he had some hype, but he didn't have the only guy with this amount of hype, and the rant's about to end, I promise, is Luka. That's it. Luka is the only guy with all this hype that actually panned out. Or you could say Trae Young. I mean, Zion Williamson, in my opinion, hasn't lived up to the hype yet. That's me. That's a take. I know someone's going to shoot me in the comments for that, but
you're right now with that. I will say, I mean, okay. You could probably blame his team, but I mean,
I got one friend.
Just hasn't done it yet. He probably will. He just hasn't done it.
His family wants him out of New Orleans. I would love Zion to come to Chicago. I would give up everything for Zion. Yeah, I mean, I would not give up Vuk or LaVine. I would give up the farm. I'd give up
I'd give up Vuk. I think I'd give up Vuk.
You'd give up Vuk.
Yeah, why not? I love. It's what our Bears takes about Justin Fields and drafting a quarterback and all that. It is just that unknown. I want hope. I want to trade for hope. I don't want to trade for a player. I want to trade for hope. That's all I want.
All right. We want hope. The Bulls need hope, man, because the Bulls were in the playoffs for nearly a decade straight, minus 1 or 2 years. And then Bulls fans are now and ironically, this morning, I got a text saying, do I want to be a Bulls season ticket holder with a good friend of mine, Tayo. Shout out, Tayo. Hope you're listening today. He sent me this, and I'm like, is the investment worth it right now? Are they going to make the playoffs? I would have to be making, for 2 seats, it's $5,300. So if we had 44 games at home, we split that. So that's 22 games for me. So I would, for my initial investment of $2,600, I would have to be selling both tickets for $75 in the 300 section. The Bulls are not a playoff team right now. So no, no, unless the Bulls get Kawhi Leonard, I'm not doing it. That's just what it is. But really quickly, Tony, I have a list written down, but with time restraints, let's just run through this really fast. 3 players that you would take in free agency or this upcoming free agency. Obviously, a lot of them are restricted. That's just how the NBA is nowadays. But who would you take in free agencies so far that's on the table still?
Lonzo Ball obviously he's restricted free agent, like we said. It doesn't sound like New Orleans really wants to bring him back, so we might be able to offer him nothing too crazy. Obviously, I don't want to give him some crazy deal just to snag him away from the Pelicans.
Right.
Dennis Schroeder, you wrote that one down. That's I don't actually know. He was unrestricted. Boom.
Unrestricted.
All right, never mind. That's number 1 player, Dennis Schroeder. Let's get him in the building. Let's make it happen. I don't want Kelly Oubre. That's a whole different thing. He sucks at shooting.
What?
He started the season like 0 for 30 from like the field. Or do you remember that crazy?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't like to talk about it though. I'm all about going young. But go on. So one more. You got one more.
I mean, someone we're not going to get a chance to get, but CP3 would be interesting. Obviously, we'd have to trade for him. Chris Paul.
Yeah.
But he'll probably stay now that the Suns are good, unless something like crazy happens where, there's a falling out with the team. But those are really my 3. We need a point guard. We really do need a point guard. I love Kobe White. I'm a Kobe White stan, but at the same time, we do need someone to direct that offense.
I totally agree. So you already hit on Lonzo. You already hit on Dennis. Rashawn Holmes from the Kings, I think, is the sleeper of free agency. He's unrestricted from what I was reading. He's an unrestricted free agent. He had 14 points per game last year, and he was coming off the bench a lot of the time. So, I like him. He was the number 9 ranked on, I think I was reading like Sports Illustrated or something. But I also like DeMar DeRozan. I do. And he's only 31 years old. He's a veteran that the Bulls could use. I know that we're trying to go young, but make the bench young. Like, win now. The Bulls need a winning team in order for fans to keep them the top 5 team and a top 5 franchise in the world, or top 10 franchise in the world. But obviously, number 1, Kawhi Leonard. I would love for Kawhi to come to Chicago. The paw and the claw, like that would just be so sick. Like father and son hanging out. I think that'd be so cool, but who knows what's going to happen. But Kelly Oubre, I was just going for the rebuild mode. But if a man's starting 0 for 30, I don't know. Coach Tony in Elk Grove Village is, that's just chilling. Are you ready to go? Yeah, elbows in. Absolutely. Well, with that, that's all we have today about Bulls draft and potentially Ben Simmons coming to Chicago. If the Bulls get Ben Simmons, we'll be hopping on. We're going to look like a bunch of idiots, and we're going to have to act like we're super excited. So stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside my co-host Tony Cepeda, and we will see you guys next time.